The warning was clear. An alien empire had fallen. A planet had been turned to dust. And now, the enemy might be coming for Earth. Admiral Jonah Briggs stood at the center of the United Earth Defense Command. Around him were top generals, scientists, and world leaders. The room was quiet, heavy with fear. He played the footage from the Vanguard 1. Screams, explosions. The remains of Zeralon, floating like ashes in the dark. Then came Jarnak's words. They infect metal. They adapt. They erase. The video ended. Admiral Briggs looked at everyone. We are out of time. Across Earth, preparations began. Secret bases hidden for decades were opened. Bunkers deep underground came alive with lights and movement. Factories switched from making cars to building war machines. Old weapons, banned after the last World War, were unlocked from storage. Project Iron Sky was reactivated. It had been just a name for years. A myth. Now it was real again. Gigantic. Warships, once built during the Cold War but never launched, were pulled from their resting places, buried under mountains, hidden beneath oceans, coated in dust, but still deadly. Scientists in Geneva worked around the clock to rebuild Earth's defense grid. AI-controlled satellites were brought back online. Lasers, railguns, EMP cannons, everything that had been considered too dangerous before, Earth had always held back. Now, it wouldn't. In a lab outside Tokyo, Dr. Aiko Yamura studied the data from the enemy. She pointed to the alien code on the screen. It learns. It rewrites itself during battle. Her assistant frowned. So how do we fight that? Dr. Yamura didn't smile. We stop thinking like humans. We fight like machines. She began developing adaptive weapons, guns and missiles that could change during combat, switch frequencies, adjust aim, and react instantly. They would give the enemy a taste of its own medicine. In Moscow, the Titan-class mechs were activated. Huge. Metal giants 50 feet tall powered by nuclear cores. Piloted by elite soldiers who had trained in secret for years. They had never seen real war. Now they would see something worse. Around the world, people were told the truth. A broadcast went out across every screen in every language. President Elena. Royce spoke directly to the people of Earth. We are not alone. And what's coming doesn't want peace. It wants silence. But we will not be silent. We will not vanish. We will fight. Together. The world didn't panic. It prepared. For the first time in history, humanity stood as one. Inside the orbiting shipyard Heaven's Forge, engineers worked day and night. They built the first of Earth's new warships, the Hammerfall, sleek, fast, covered in armor that could bend light, powered by twin antimatter cores, armed with weapons no enemy had ever seen before. Captain Ryan Maddox stood on its bridge. He had seen Zeralon. He had spoken to Jarnak. Now he would lead the first strike. Beside him stood the alien commander, Jarnak, still weak, but no longer afraid. You built this in weeks, he said, looking at the Hammerfall. We spent centuries building fleets, like these. Maddox didn't look away. You never met humans before. Jarnak nodded slowly. No, but now I see. Maybe that's what they're afraid of. In the dark space beyond Jupiter, humanity ran one final test. A drone ship, built to look like one of the alien vessels, was infected with captured enemy code. Within seconds, the code spread. Systems failed. Lights died. But then, the ship fought back. Dr. Yamura's AI defenses activated. The infection was trapped, frozen, and deleted. The scientists cheered. Humanity had learned fast, and it was still learning. Back at Earth Defense Command, Admiral Briggs looked at the star map. A red line moved slowly toward the solar system. We have days, he said. General Hayes nodded. Maybe less. Are we ready? Someone asked. Briggs didn't blink. No, but we will be. He looked at the screen one last time, then he gave the order. Launch the fleet. Space was silent, but something was coming. The Hammerfall, Earth's most powerful warship, moved quietly past the edge of the solar system. Around it flew a fleet of 20 other ships, some small and fast, others huge and full of weapons. Captain, Ryan Maddox stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the black ahead. We're close, said Jarnak, standing beside him. The alien survivor still wore bandages over his burns. This is where we last saw them. How will we know? Asked Maddox. You'll feel it, Jarnak whispered. The cold, the fear. On the other side of the fleet, Commander Elena Cruz piloted the Valiant, a smaller but faster ship. Her crew was ready. Everyone had trained for this moment. They carried Earth's best weapons, best armor, and one mission: find the enemy, test them, return alive. But no one truly believed they'd come back the same. Back on Earth, Admiral Briggs and Dr. Aiko Yamura watched through a live feed. The entire planet was silent, waiting. Anything on scanners? Briggs asked. Dr. Yamura frowned. No, just static, like the signal is being eaten. Then a beep, then hundreds. All ships, multiple. Contacts, distance 30,000 kilometers. In the blackness of space they came. Not ships, not life as anyone understood. The Devourers. They looked like swarms of black insects, but each was the size of a bus. No lights, no engines. They moved without sound, like shadows crawling through. Space! They didn't fire! They simply surrounded! Shields up! Captain Maddox shouted. The Hammerfall's outer shell lit up with blue energy. The rest of the fleet followed. Then, one of the shadows touched the side of a ship and began to eat. Not bite. Not burn. The metal peeled open like wet paper. Wires twisted. Lights died. The ship screamed. It wasn't even a second before it exploded. Valiant to command. We are under attack. Repeat. We are under... The transmission cut off one ship. Down, then 2, then 4. They're learning, said Dr. Yamura, watching helplessly. They're already adapting to our shields. Admiral Briggs stood frozen. Weapons. Now, Maddox ordered. The Hammerfall opened fire. Lasers, missiles, railguns, all aimed at the black swarm. Some hit. The shadows broke apart, screeched, and fell away. But more came. Inside one of the smaller ships, Private Dana West was manning a railgun turret. Her hands shook as she fired at the swarm. She watched one of the creatures latch onto the glass. It had no eyes, just spinning. Pieces, blades, teeth made of metal. Then it began to crack the window. Dana screamed. Seconds later, the ship vanished in a blast. Captain Maddox looked at Jarnak. How do we stop them? You don't, said Jarnak. You survive, or you run. No, Maddox growled. We fight. He slammed a button. Activate Black Protocol. The Hammerfall's belly opened. A new weapon dropped out. Project Eclipse, a sun core bomb powered by the heart of a dying star. Distance? Maddox asked. 14,000 kilometers, his officer replied. Within range. Fire. The bomb launched. It glowed like a small sun, spinning as it raced toward the swarm. Then, boom. Light swallowed the darkness. Everything went white. When the screen cleared, the swarm was gone. So were 3 more ships. Silence. Everyone held their breath. Then, from the ashes, one shadow moved, bigger, changed. It had learned. They survived a sun core detonation, Dr. Yamura whispered back on Earth. Admiral Briggs turned to her. Can we win this? She looked at the screen. Only if we stop thinking like humans. On the Hammerfall, Maddox wiped blood from a cut on his forehead. His crew was shaken. Fires burned behind him. The ship groaned. Casualties? 6 ships lost, hundreds dead. He stared at the enemy, still watching from a distance. Not running, not chasing, just watching. What are they waiting for? Someone asked. Jarnak stepped forward, voice quiet. They're studying you. Captain Maddox's eyes narrowed. Then we give them something to remember. The Hammerfall limped toward Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Behind it, half of Earth's first fleet was gone. The enemy hadn't chased them, not yet. But everyone on board knew. The Devourers were watching, learning, and soon they would strike again. Captain Ryan Maddox stood on the bridge, jaw tight. The crew moved quickly around him, putting out fires, repairing systems, and tending to the wounded. We'll make our stand here, Maddox said, pointing to the moon below. Titan's shadow base is still active. We have weapons, armor, and the last orbital cannon Earth left behind. Commander Elena Cruz's voice crackled through the comms. She was alive, barely. We regroup and hit them with everything we've got, she said. We can't run forever. Far beneath Titan's frozen surface, the shadow base came alive. Old engines roared after decades of silence. Massive doors opened to reveal powerful cannons. Mechs stood tall, waiting for pilots. Robots marched into position. Earth had buried its darkest weapons here, too dangerous for use in peacetime. Now they would be humanity's last hope. Dr. Aiko Yamura arrived through emergency shuttle, holding a case of glowing red vials. What are those? Asked Maddox. Virus bombs, she said. Not biological, code-based, designed to infect the Devourer's systems. If they touch this, it'll corrupt them. Will it work? I don't know, she admitted. But it's better than waiting to die. Hours later, radar alarms blared. They're coming, shouted a young officer. From the dark side of Saturn, the Devourers returned. Thousands of them, moving faster, stronger, different. They've evolved, said Jarnak grimly. Maddox didn't flinch. Good, so have we. The first wave hit hard. The orbital cannon above Titan fired, slicing through space with beams of white-hot light. Dozens of Devourers burned instantly, but more replaced them. Titan's anti-air defenses launched missiles. Nets of electric shock and magnetic bombs, mechs on the surface fired railguns straight into the sky, and for a moment, it worked. The swarm broke apart. Ships flew through the gaps, shooting back. Earth's fighters danced between the enemy, dodging, striking, retreating. Commander Cruz's voice rang over the channel. We're not just survivors. We're predators now. The crew cheered, but it didn't last. The enemy adapted again. Some Devourers broke into smaller pieces, each piece flying on its own. They dodged lasers, avoided traps. A few landed on Titan's surface. They began drilling. What are they doing? Maddox asked. Trying to reach the reactor, said Yamura. They want to blow up the base from inside. Not on my watch, said a voice. Private Dana West, one of the few survivors from a destroyed ship, now piloted a mech. She jumped into action, leading a squad of machines across the frozen ground. Cover me, she yelled. Missiles rained. From her shoulders, the enemy swarmed around her. Claws scraped her armor. A black spike pierced her side, but she didn't stop. She pulled one of the virus bombs from her cockpit and smashed it into the enemy's core. It screamed. Then the scream turned into static. Then silence. The creature collapsed. Its metal shell melting. Its lights dying. It works, she gasped. The virus! It works! Back in orbit, Maddox gave the order. All units, focus fire. Combine weapons and virus bombs. Hit them hard. The fleet moved as one. Ships launched new rounds of virus bombs, sticking them to torpedoes and drones. And for the first time, the swarm pulled back. Some tried to run, but Earth didn't let them. Theat, orbital cannon fired one last time. A beam of pure light cut through space, hitting the swarm's largest ship. The explosion lit up Saturn like a second sun. The battle was over. Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. Wreckage floated above Titan. Fires still burned on the moon's surface, but humanity had done something no one thought possible. They survived. In the command center, Maddox sat beside Jarnak. both watching the stars. You were right, Jarnak said softly. You are different. No, Maddox said. We're still human. That's why we fight. Behind them, Dr. Yamura worked on new versions of the virus. Cruz checked her wounded. Dana West, still in pain, sat in her mech, smiling. They had won a battle, but not the war. Because in the black of deep space, something else had seen everything, something far bigger than the swarm, and it had started to move. Titan was quiet now. Wreckage floated in space. Frozen pieces of the Devourers drifted like black snow across Saturn's rings. Earth's soldiers patched their wounds, repaired their ships, and buried their dead. But peace didn't last. Not for long. Deep beneath Titan's surface, Dr. Aiko Yamura sat inside a dark lab. She was scanning the remains of the Devourer that Private Dana West had killed. The virus had worked, but only for a moment. The creature died, yes, but the data didn't stop flowing. What's this? Yamura whispered. Her screen blinked. Lines of alien code appeared. At first, it looked like noise. Random. Then, it formed a shape. Not a weapon. A signal. Back on the Hammerfall, Captain Maddox reviewed the battle logs. Every second of the fight had been recorded, but in the background, of every explosion, there was sound. Not just metal tearing or engines roaring, something else. A low hum. A voice, almost too deep to hear, but it was there. Maddox turned to the ship's AI. Run that sound through translation. It took only seconds. The result was one line. We are only the first. At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Briggs sat in silence as the message was played again and again. Jarnak stood beside him, face pale. It's a warning, Jarnak said. The swarm wasn't an army. What do you mean? Briggs asked. They were scouts. Everyone in the room went quiet. Jarnak pointed to a star map. This was just the edge of something bigger, something ancient, something that doesn't just eat worlds, it cleans them. Dr. Yamura's voice came over the comms. I've matched the signal. It's coming from a region of space we call the Black Fold. No stars? Briggs asked. No stars, no light, just silence. And now a signal was coming from it, a second one. It was louder than before, more direct. This time it said, your kind is loud. Loudness must end. On the moon base Selene 1, astronomers began to panic. A dark object had appeared just beyond Pluto. No heat, no light, no movement. At first, they thought it was an asteroid. Then it changed direction. It was coming toward Earth. And it was huge. Bigger than any ship. Bigger than a moon. What is it? Asked one scientist. No one had an answer, but one word kept repeating on every screen. Harbinger. On the Valiant, Commander Elena Cruz gathered her team. We have less than 72 hours, she said. If that thing reaches Earth, she didn't need to finish. Private Dana West loaded her rifle. We stop it before it gets here. Maddox's voice came through the comms. Negative. You're not going to it. He paused. It's coming to you. Across Earth, alarms rang. World leaders were informed, evacuation plans were prepared, but no one truly believed it would help. Where could people run if Earth itself was the target? Dr. Yamura delivered her final report. The swarm was bad. But this is different. The Harbinger doesn't just consume, it rewrites reality. It sends signals that break machines, melt thought, confuse AI. It is not alive in the way we understand. Briggs stared at her. So how do we fight it? Yamura took a breath. We have to change ourselves. In secret labs, a new program was started. Project Catalyst. Soldiers would be given advanced AI implants, allowing them to think and react faster than the enemy's code. Ships would no longer run on Earth-made engines. They would use alien tech taken from Jarnak's people. Humanity had 3 days to become something more than human, to become something the enemy had never seen. At the edge of the solar system, just before Neptune, the Harbinger stopped. It opened, not like a ship, more like a wound in space. And from it, thousands of new shapes emerged, bigger, smarter, deadlier. The real war was about to begin. Back on Titan, Maddox stood alone looking at the stars. "They're coming again," said Cruz, walking up beside him. He nodded. "But this time," he said, "we're ready." Jarnak joined them. His voice was quiet. "No, you're not ready." Maddox turned. "Then why did you come back?" Jarnak's eyes were full of something humans hadn't seen in him before. Hope. "Because even if you're not ready," he said, "you're willing to fight, and that might be enough." They looked at the sky one last time. The stars were blinking, but something darker was moving between them, something watching, something ancient, and it had finally noticed Earth. The skies above Earth turned red, not from the sun, not from fire, but from the Harbinger, the giant, silent monster from deep space. It had reached Earth's orbit. It did not speak. It did not attack yet. It just watched. Every screen on the planet went black. Every satellite died. And then came the message. Noise, chaos, end. The Harbinger had arrived. Inside Earth Defense HQ, Admiral Briggs stood at the command table, all systems on alert. "Every city, every ship, no more retreats. This is it." Commander Elena Cruz, patched up but still bruised, saluted. "Understood. We die on our feet." Dr. Aiko Yamura stood nearby, placing a small chip in her own neck. It was the prototype. From Project Catalyst, an AI enhancer that let the brain move faster than light signals. "This might kill me," she said. Maddox nodded. "But it might save the world." In orbit, the last human fleet took position around Earth. Hammerfall, Valiant, Soul's Wrath, even old damaged ships were brought back online. They looked like toys compared to the Harbinger, but they had heart. They had humans and humans. Don't back down. The Harbinger opened again. This time, no swarm came out, only one. A being larger than a skyscraper. It moved through space without engines. It bent light. It didn't fire weapons. It was the weapon. As it approached Earth's orbit, it sent a final message. "Earth, last flame, extinguish." Private Dana West gripped the controls of her mech, standing with her squad on the edge of Earth's upper atmosphere. "We hold the line," she whispered. The creature fired nothing, but every ship around it began to shake. AI systems went blind. Engines stalled, shields flickered. "It's jamming everything," someone shouted. Dr. Yamura activated her implant, screaming in pain as her brain connected directly to the broken systems. "I can still see it," she cried. "We're not out yet." Captain Maddox gave the order. "All units, fire everything." The sky lit up. Lasers, railguns, missiles, plasma storms. Even nuclear rounds, it all hit the Harbinger's armor and did nothing, not a scratch. "It's absorbing the energy," Cruz said. "Then we give it more than it can eat," Maddox answered. "Charge the Sol Spear." The Sol Spear was Earth's last experimental weapon. Hidden deep in the moon, it used solar energy stored for decades. They had one shot. As the Sol Spear powered up, the Harbinger began to spin. The space around it bent like glass. "It's creating a gravity well," Yamura shouted. "It's going to crush Earth without even landing." Jarnak, standing in the control room, spoke softly. "There is one weakness." Everyone turned. "It cannot understand sacrifice. It doesn't believe in it." "What are you saying?" Maddox asked. Jarnak stepped forward. "My people built it. Long ago. It was made to end chaos. But we lost control." He pulled a glowing core from his armor. "This is my species code key. If I get close enough, I can shut it down." "You won't survive," said Cruz. "I know." Jarnak took a stealth fighter and launched. The Harbinger ignored him. Just another piece of dust. But Jarnak reached its heart. He pressed the core to its shell, and spoke one final word in his ancient tongue. Sleep. A wave of white light exploded from the creature. It paused, trembled. Then, for the first time, it made a sound, a scream of pain. The signal broke. Earth's systems came back online. Now! Maddox shouted. Fire the spear! From the moon, the soul spear fired. A single beam of burning gold light crossed space and hit the Harbinger's chest. This time, it worked. The creature cracked. Its shell split open. Pieces drifted apart. The skies above Earth turned blue again. The Harbinger was dead. But Jarnak was gone, and Earth would never be the same. Later, at a quiet field near the ruins of the old Earth Defense HQ, Maddox, Cruz, Yamura, and Dana West stood beside a small stone. It read, Jarnak of the Silent Stars. He was not born human, but he died as one. No words were needed. They all knew. If the Harbinger was real, then something even worse was still out there. But Earth had changed. They were no longer just defenders. They were something more, a voice for the voiceless, a light in the dark, a warning to the galaxy. If you threaten Earth, prepare for fire and steel. The war was over. The Harbinger was gone. Earth was safe, for now, but the galaxy had changed forever. Word of what happened at Titan, what happened above Earth, had spread, not just among humans, among the stars. In the distant reaches of the Orion Arm, leaders of powerful alien empires sat in silence. Holograms flickered before them, images of human ships fighting the Harbinger, of Earth burning, and finally, of the Sol Spear tearing a god in half. No species should have that kind of weapon, said one. But they didn't start the war, said another. They just finished it. A third leaned forward. We thought they were young, weak, primitive. There was a long pause. Then, in a whisper, we were wrong. Back on Earth, things were not the same. Cities were being rebuilt. Families mourned their losses. But something new was growing. Something powerful. Unity. For the first time, the nations of Earth stood together. No flags, no borders, just one people, one voice. Humanity had changed, not just stronger, not just smarter. They had learned about pain, about loss, and about what it meant to protect your own, no matter the cost. Dana West sat in a quiet field outside the new Earth Defense Academy. She stared up at the stars. So many lights, so many unknowns. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just watched. Behind her, young cadets trained in the yard, not just to fight, but to understand the enemy, to study the stars, to remember. Maddox joined her. You ready to leave? He asked. She nodded. Where are we going? He looked to the sky. Wherever they're listening. The Hammerfall launched once again, not as a warship, but as a message. Painted in bold white letters on its hull were two words. Never again. Humans were not looking for a fight, but if the fight came to them again, they would answer. With fire, with steel, and with something no alien could understand. Heart. In a far-off star system, a small, dying colony picked up a signal. It was weak. Broken, but familiar. Human. The message was clear. If you are in danger, if you are hunted, if no one else will come, Earth will. The name Earth became something new in the galaxy, a warning, a promise, and a legend. Some called them monsters, some called them heroes. But everyone agreed on one thing. You do not attack Earth, because Earth remembers, Earth rebuilds, and Earth responds, with fire and steel. In the final moments of the war, before the Harbinger died, it had sent out a final pulse, a scream across the stars. Dr. Yamura had captured a small piece of it. She worked night and day to study it, and one day, she decoded it. It was not a command. It was not a threat. It was a location, a place deep in the center of the galaxy, something older than the Harbinger, something watching. Admiral Briggs stood before the United Earth Council. He played Yamura's final report. The chamber was silent as her voice filled the room. What we fought was not the end. It was the beginning. The Harbinger was only a tool. Someone, something, built it, and now it knows who we are. The council asked one question: what should we do? Briggs looked out the window toward the stars and gave a simple answer. We prepare. The story of Earth spread far and wide. Aliens told it in whispers. Soldiers taught it in training camps. Children sang it like an old war song. And at the center of that story was one unshakable truth. They cried for help. And Earth answered with fire and steel.